I'm listening to Farage being presented in South Wales. He's holding up his leaflet.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, guess who's back? Back again. I did not for one moment think I'd be standing here and doing this ever again. But I am, and I'm doing it. But I come out of retirement, and I'm doing it because I genuinely feel that Britain is broken, that nothing actually works anymore, that we're broken economically as our national debt explodes, as our debt repayments are now over £90 billion a year, interestingly, the same amount as the education budget. But of course, it's that generation that are going to have to pay for all of our mistakes for years to come. I feel increasingly we're broken socially, and it doesn't matter what crime statistics the government quotes at us, we all feel less safe on our streets. And I think we've reached a point now where most crime even goes unreported. And I'm in absolutely no doubt that we are in decline culturally. We've begun to forget who we are, what our history is, what we stand for. We've put up with the minds of our children from a young age right through university, frankly, being poisoned about what this country is and what it represents. And all of this would be manageable if there were some clear political solutions. But I think our politics is perhaps as broken as all of the other factors that I've listed. And I was very struck over the last couple of weeks. I've been involved in 2 seven-way debates with party leaders and main representatives, one on the BBC, one on ITV, which descended really into a shouting match between Penny Mordaunt and Angela Rayner. And yet, when you listen to what they were arguing over, it seemed to me
that's not how I remembered
the more
it.
they argued, the more they seemed the same. We're going through a breakdown of trust in politics, where manifestos, one after another, can keep making the same promises, and no one believes now, frankly, a word that they say. Which is why today, specifically, is not a manifesto launch. Because if I say to you, manifesto, your immediate word association is lie. And that is, I think, wholly unsurprising. There are also many millions of people out there, not just disappointed over manifestos, but a lot of Brexit voters, millions of Brexit voters out there, genuinely disappointed.
So we call it something different.
They believe that by voting for Brexit and
calling a lie something different is still a lie.
On the scale that we did, is that we'd actually get a grip on mass migration into Britain. We'd get back proper control of our borders, and none of that's happened. In fact, the very opposite has happened. So there are feelings of disenchantment there as well. They, of course, also
and you can't quote a single Brexit benefit, can you?
Well, at least the regulations, at least the rules will get easier. Some people say to me, well, Nigel, that's a failure of Brexit. Oh, no, it isn't. It's a failure of a sovereign government to implement the will of the people and, indeed, its own manifesto. And I also think there's a complete lack of leadership. I'm not, going to say personally abusive things about Keir Starmer or Rishi Sunak. I'll leave that to the rest of the establishment to be rude about me, because I couldn't care less. It doesn't matter. I'm pretty used to it. I've even got used to people throwing things at me, but there we are.
You see, he's a very fine speaker.
People actually need some sense of being inspired, some sense of believing there's somebody up at the front.
I just don't think you're the person to do it.
Says what they believe and is going to show a way forward for the country. And I don't believe we have any of that either. So I've come back into this because I think there is now the most enormous gap that exists between the two big Westminster parties. And I say Westminster because it is very much Westminster and Oxford University thinking that dominates these parties, a huge gap between that and the conversations that I hear being had by families and people around the rest of the country. I could see it before the Brexit referendum. I could see this huge gap between our political class and the people. And the Brexit result, the shock of that result, showed us that it existed. I now believe that gap to be even bigger than it was before that referendum back in June